Welcome to Lyra Echo Stories, where every story echoes emotions, memories, and hidden truths. Step in and feel the echo of every tale.
The first message came at 11:03 London time. My flat in Bermondsey is small enough that the floor doubles as a dining table. Faux balanced on one knee, quarterly earnings report open on my laptop, the Thames doing its usual grey thing outside the window. A normal Tuesday night in London. Then my phone buzzed once. Then again. Then. It did not stop. The screen lit up and the counter climbed. 12 messages, 20, 31. The family group chat, the one I had muted 8 months ago, had come back to life like something pulled from a grave. Mom. All capitals. How could you do this to your own sister? Hazel. No capitals at all. There are people at the door saying they bought this house Sloane. What is happening? Cousin Angela. 3 question marks and no words. Uncle Phil. 1 sentence. I knew something like this would happen. I said it at Christmas. Nobody listens to Phil. 214 messages in 12 minutes. I counted. That is what I do. I count things. The phone went on the floor next to my foe. Ceiling, river, phone again. Scrolling back to the beginning, reading the way you read a report you already know the conclusion to. Every message confirmed what the timestamps and panic made obvious. The Sato Patels had arrived for their 5 o'clock walkthrough. They knocked. My sister answered the door in pajamas. She had been cooking something, probably instant ramen, because Hazel has never learned to cook anything that requires more than boiling water. She looked at 2 strangers holding house keys and a folder full of closing documents, and she told them they had the wrong address. They did not have the wrong address. They had the right address, the right keys, and a receipt for the earnest money deposit framed on Priya Sato Patel's phone, because she is, by all accounts, that kind of buyer. It was their house. I had sold it to them 14 days ago. Let me go back 8 months. That is when this started. Or maybe it started 25 years before that, when I was 12 years old and standing behind a screen door listening to my mother explain me to the neighbor. But I will get to that. First, the house. The things inside it. The old university mug still sitting on the kitchen counter that Hazel was probably drinking from right now while 2 strangers explained, very politely, that they owned the cabinet it came from. 8 months ago, the London office offered a permanent transfer. Not a rotation, not a trial, a decision. 4 boxes packed, 3 shipped, everything else donated. The new flat has a window that faces east and a radiator that sounds like a very old man clearing his throat. Small and clean and containing almost nothing that was not chosen on purpose. 1 cabinet of dishes, 2 towels. Sleep comes easy here. My mother did not know the move was permanent. Neither did my father. Neither did Hazel. The only people who knew were Jillian, my real estate agent, because she needed to list the house, my dentist, because records needed transferring, and the woman at the post office who had been forwarding my mail, because she asked. Gillian called me 2 weeks ago, the day the sale closed. She has known me since college, back when I was still the kind of person who went to parties and pretended to enjoy small talk. Now, I am the kind of person who does not pretend. It's done, she said. The Sato Patels are officially homeowners. They are very excited about the walkthrough next week. Something about a kitchen island. Good. Sloane. What? You know, most people sell a house because they need money. You sold one because you needed to stop being reachable. There was no answer for that. Jillian knows me well enough to not wait for one. What she did not know, what I had not told anyone, was the reason I stopped being reachable in the first place. It was not the argument at Thanksgiving. It was not my mother calling me selfish for refusing to let Hazel move in. It was not even the 8 years of birthday cards from my father that said the same 3 words and nothing else. It was a credit alert on my phone that showed up in February and would not go away. A card I did not open. A balance I did not spend. An address I had not lived at in 3 years, listed as the billing location for an account bearing my full legal name. There was no confrontation, no phone call, no accusation, just the thing that has always come most naturally when something breaks. Quiet, organization, departure. That was 8 months ago. Now it was 11:15 in London, 5:15 in Roanoke, Virginia. The Sato Patels were standing in what used to be my living room, holding their folder, smiling the nervous smile of people who have just been told by a stranger in pajamas that they do not own the house they bought. Hazel was calling my mother. My mother was calling me. I was sitting on the floor in Bermondsey, watching 214 messages become 231. My pho was getting cold. The earnings report was still open. The Thames was still gray. I closed the laptop, picked up the pho, took a long, slow sip of broth while my phone continued to buzz against the hardwood floor. The smile was not about winning. It was not about planning. The truth is simpler and harder than that. For the first time in 25 years, my mother had called me, and the obligation to answer was gone, just gone. Like a sound you have been hearing your whole life that suddenly stops, and in the silence you realize how loud it always was. That is a strange thing to smile about. But if you have ever spent your whole life being the strong one, the reliable one, the one who does not need anything from anyone, you know exactly what I mean. Let me tell you how I got here. The Thanksgiving before the sale was the last time the whole family sat at the same table. My mother's kitchen in Roanoke smelled the way it always smelled in November. Turkey drippings, canned cranberry sauce, and the particular kind of tension that comes from 4 adults pretending they are not keeping score. Hazel was at the counter slicing bread. My father was in his chair at the head of the table, reading the sports section of a newspaper he had already read that morning, because Roger Briggs does not participate in family meals so much as attend them. My mother was everywhere at once, the way she always is, circling the table and adjusting things that did not need adjusting and narrating her own effort in real time. 37 years of Thanksgivings, she said, setting down a bowl of mashed potatoes with the weight of someone placing a trophy. 37, and not once has anyone offered to host. Nobody responded. That was not the kind of statement that required a response. It required witnesses. The meal was fine. Dry turkey, wet stuffing, the usual. Then Hazel mentioned rent. She did not bring it up dramatically. She said it the way you mention a parking ticket or a leak in the ceiling. Something small, already handled, barely worth the breath. The lease is up in January and the landlord wants $400 more a month. So, that is going to be tight. My mother looked at me before Hazel finished the sentence. Not at my father, not at the mashed potatoes. At me. The way a GPS recalculates when you miss a turn. Sloan can help, she said. You have that big job overseas. The transfer is not permanent, Mom. And the cost of living in London is not exactly forgiving. Your sister needs help. Then she should apply for the assistance program at the county office. The wait list is 3 months, but the coverage is generous. My mother's fork stopped moving. Hazel looked at the bread. My father turned a page. You sound like a computer, my mother said. Thank you. That was not a compliment. That was not a surprise. The table went quiet. Not the comfortable kind. The kind where everyone is doing math in their heads, calculating who owes what to whom, and whether the next sentence will cost more than it is worth. Hazel broke it. It is fine. Forget it. Sloan, forget it. But my mother did not forget it. She leaned forward and said something she had been saving, the way she saves everything, for exactly the right moment of maximum impact. Your sister sent you $2,000 last month. For your rent. Did you receive it? Hazel blinked. That was for the car. What car? Silence. My mother's face did something complicated. Not guilt, not embarrassment. Recalculation. It all goes to the same place, she said. Family is family. That was the sentence. That was the one. 8 words that rearranged 20 years of transactions in my head. Every check sent to Hazel. Every Venmo transfer. Every time my mother said, Your sister needs a little help, and could you send something this month? None of it had gone where it was supposed to go. All of it had passed through my mother's hands first, redistributed according to a budget only she understood. After dinner, while Hazel washed dishes and my father pretended to nap in the living room, I sat in the guest bedroom with my phone and pulled up my credit report. Something I had not done in over a year, because the kind of person who pays every bill on time and keeps a clean score does not check often. Overconfidence. The most expensive kind of laziness. The report loaded. 3 accounts, 2 mine, 1 not. A credit card opened 26 months earlier. Billing address. My mother's house on Ferncliff Drive. Current balance. $9,400. Minimum payment. $172. Status. Current. Cardholder name. Sloane Renee Briggs. My hands did not shake. My breath did not catch. That is not how this kind of discovery works when you are the person people describe as steady. What happened was quieter. The room got very still, and the numbers on the screen looked like numbers on a screen, and somewhere between the balance and the billing address, a door closed inside me that has not opened since. There was a birthday card on the nightstand. My father had left it there before dinner, the way he leaves one every year. Same cardstock, same blue envelope, same 3 words inside. Love, Dad. No note, no sentence. No indication that Roger Briggs has ever had a thought about his eldest daughter that required more than 3 words to express. 25 years of birthday cards, and the longest one contained a gift receipt for a sweater that did not fit. That night, lying in the dark in my mother's guest bedroom, listening to the house settle around me the way old houses do, making sounds that could be pipes or could be something else entirely, a memory surfaced. Not because I called for it, because the credit report had shaken something loose. 12 years old. Summer. Standing behind the screen door while my mother talked to Mrs. Johnson over the fence. Hazel had been sick that week, some kind of stomach virus, and my mother had been up 4 nights straight. Mrs. Johnson asked about me. "Oh, Sloane?" My mother laughed. Not a mean laugh. Worse, an honest one. Sloane is the strong one. She does not need me the way Hazel does. The screen door had a small tear in the mesh, a triangle of loose wire near the bottom corner. Standing there, barefoot, listening, all the focus went to that triangle. The shape of it, the way the wire curled. 25 years later, in the guest bedroom, that triangle was the clearest thing in the memory. Not my mother's words, the wire. Some lessons are too early and too permanent. This was mine. Strength means you do not get taken care of. Need is for other people. The strong one stands behind the screen and watches. The next morning, Thanksgiving Friday, the house smelled like reheated gravy, and my mother was already on the phone with someone from church, organizing a coat drive for families in need. My suitcase was packed. My flight left at 2. My father was at the table with his newspaper. As always, he looked up when the taxi honked. "Safe travels," he said. "Thanks, Dad." That was our goodbye. 3 words outbound, 2 words return. Par for the course. On the plane back to London, somewhere over the Atlantic, the decision finished forming. Not the decision to leave. That had already been made. The decision to stop explaining, to stop sending money through my mother's hands, to stop answering calls that always began with "your sister needs" and never began with "how are you?" The decision to get quiet, get organized, and sell the house. The sale closed on a Tuesday. The walkthrough was scheduled for the following Thursday. 14 days between signing the papers and the Sato Patels walking through the front door of a house that used to be mine and was now legally and completely theirs. 14 days. That is how long my mother had to move my sister into a house she did not own, fill it with furniture from a storage unit, stock the pantry with ramen and peanut butter, and convince Hazel that her older sister had agreed to the arrangement. 14 days of planning, packing, and lying. My mother has always been efficient when motivated. Jillian told me later what she pieced together from the Sato Patels and the neighbors. The timeline went like this. Day 1, after closing. My mother drove to the house with a spare key she had copied years ago, back when the house was still in my name, and she still believed that a mother's access to her daughter's property was a constitutional right. She walked through every room, opened closets, checked the water heater. Left. Day 3. A moving truck arrived. Not a large one. A rental van, the kind you pick up from the hardware store parking lot. My father drove, my mother directed. Hazel was not there for this part. She did not know yet. Day 5. My mother called Hazel, told her that Sloane had offered her old house while she got back on her feet, that Sloane was in London and would not be using it, that the arrangement was temporary, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, just until things stabilized. Hazel believed it. Of course she believed it. Hazel has spent 27 years believing that my mother speaks on behalf of the family the way a translator speaks on behalf of a foreign dignitary. The words might not be exact, but the spirit is accurate. Why would this time be different? Day 12. Hazel moved in, hung a few prints on the walls, bought a shower curtain from the Target on Williamson Road, set up her laptop on the kitchen counter next to a university mug she probably assumed was hers to use. Day 14. 5 o'clock. The Sato Patels arrived. Jillian was the one who called me first. Not my mother, not Hazel, Jillian, because Jillian is the kind of person who brings information before bringing opinions. So, she said, on a scale of 1 to your mother, how bad is it? Define it. Your buyers just met your sister. She was wearing flannel pants and holding a spatula. She told them, and this is a direct quote from Priya, that they had the wrong house. Then she closed the door. Then Priya knocked again. Then your sister opened the door and said, louder, that they had the wrong house. Then Yun held up the keys. And your sister sat down on the porch steps and called your mother. And my mother called me. 4 times in the last 6 minutes, yes. The phone was still buzzing. My mother had moved past texting and into a full operational broadcast, alerting every cousin, aunt, and second cousin twice removed that her eldest daughter had committed an act of betrayal so severe it required immediate family-wide commentary. The messages kept coming. Aunt Helen, who is my mother's older sister and the only person in the family who uses complete sentences in text messages, wrote, Judith, what is going on? Please explain from the beginning. My mother did not explain from the beginning. She explained from the middle, which is where she always starts, because beginning at the beginning would require admitting things she would rather not admit. Cousin Devon sent a gif of a house on fire. Cousin Angela sent 3 question marks, then 4, then 5, as if the additional punctuation might eventually produce an answer. My phone counted 206 messages before Hazel's name appeared again. Hazel. Lowercase, no punctuation, the way she always types when she is trying not to cry. Sloane told me I could stay here. Mom showed me the text. That sentence, those 11 words, they changed the shape of everything that came after because they told me something the credit card had not. The credit card was theft. This was something else. This was fabrication. My mother had not just moved Hazel in. She had manufactured my consent, created a text message from my number, or from a number Hazel would believe was mine, and used it as permission. That was the moment the group chat stopped being my mother's stage and became mine. From London, sitting on the floor of my flat, with cold pho and a buzzing phone, composing a single message. No exclamation points, no capitals, no explanation, just one photograph. The closing documents, my signature, the date, the amount, the names of the buyers, send. The typing indicators stopped, all of them. 47 people in a group chat, and for 11 seconds, not one of them typed a single letter. Then Aunt Helen? Oh, Judith. 2 words. The kind that carry the weight of a woman who has seen this before and hoped she would not see it again. My mother's response arrived 4 minutes after the document. She must have needed those 4 minutes. which is unusual for a woman who has never in her life paused before speaking. You had no right. 4 words. All capitals. The kind of message that sounds like a closing argument but is actually an opening position. Because Judith Briggs does not concede ground. She redefines it. Jillian called back. Well, that went about as well as a root canal in a thunderstorm. The Sato Patels. Are they okay? Confused. Uncomfortable. Currently sitting in their car in the driveway, while your sister paces on the porch. Priya wants to call the police. Yun wants to call their lawyer. Both of them want to know why there is a woman in flannel pants in their kitchen. Tell them to wait. Tell them Hazel is not a threat. She is a casualty. A casualty of what? Of my mother being my mother. Jillian was quiet for a moment. Sloane, what exactly is happening here? More than a house. That is extremely unhelpful. Give me 48 hours. The Sato Patels need access to their property. They will have it. Hazel will leave. She just needs to understand why first. The group chat had reached 231 messages by the time the broth in my bowl had gone completely cold. 231 messages, and not one of them was from my father. Roger Briggs, consistent to the end, had read every single one and contributed nothing. Somewhere in Roanoke, my sister was sitting on the porch of a house that did not belong to either of us anymore, holding a phone full of a text message she now suspected was not real, trying to figure out which of the 2 women in her life had lied to her. The answer, of course, was both. My mother lied by creating a message that never existed. And for 8 months, by saying nothing at all, so had I. The 48 hours pass the way 48 hours pass when you are building a case. Quickly, precisely, without sentiment. Hazel left the house on Friday morning. Gillian coordinated with the Sato Patels, who were patient in the specific way that people are patient when they know the law is on their side and can afford to wait. Hazel packed 2 suitcases, loaded them into the car my mother had bought for her with money that may or may not have been mine, and drove to a friend's apartment in Vinton. She did not call me. She did not call my mother. She posted one story on social media, a picture of a coffee cup and nothing else, which in Hazel's visual language meant something between, I am processing this, and please do not talk to me right now. My mother, meanwhile, had gone quiet in the group chat. Not silent. Quiet. There is a difference. Silent means absence. Quiet means reloading. From London, sitting at my kitchen table with a mug of tea that I kept forgetting to drink, the work began. Step 1. Full credit report. Not the free summary from February that had shown one account. The complete report. All 3 bureaus. The kind that costs $14 and shows everything, including accounts you did not know existed. The report loaded at 7:42 in the morning, London time. 3 pages. 2 of them mine. Clean, organized, paid on time. The financial biography of a woman who treats her credit score the way some people treat their blood pressure. Carefully. The 3rd page was not mine. 3 credit cards. Not 1, 3. Opened over 26 months, staggered at intervals of roughly 8 months apart, as if whoever opened them understood that spacing the applications would avoid triggering fraud alerts. All 3 billed to Ferncliff Drive, my mother's house. The first had a balance of $7,600. The second, $11,900. The third and largest, opened just 14 months ago with a $20,000 limit, carried a balance of $18,686. Its last purchase was a furniture rental company in Salem, Virginia, dated 9 days ago. The same week, Hazel moved into my house. Total across 3 cards. $38,202. $38,000 is not a rounding error or a misunderstanding. It is a project. It is infrastructure built over years, requiring sustained effort and repeated decision-making. Every swipe was a choice, and Judith Briggs had managed her theft the way she managed everything else, with the steady hand of a woman who believes she is doing the right thing. She paid the minimums on time, every time, so the accounts would never flag. Meticulous. Step 2. Lawyer. Jillian gave me the name. Carmen Reyes. Attorney in Roanoke, specializing in financial fraud and family disputes, which is apparently a combination common enough to warrant a specialty. Carmen answered on the second ring, which either meant she was efficient or her calendar was light. After 15 minutes on the phone, during which she asked 11 questions and interrupted me 0 times, she said the sentence that made the rest of the conversation simple. This is textbook identity theft. Family or not, this is a felony in Virginia. The word felony sat in the air between London and Roanoke, like a stone dropped into still water. Not because it surprised me, because it made real what I had been treating as a problem to solve, rather than a crime to report. Carmen laid out 3 paths. Path 1, file a police report, criminal investigation, potential arrest. My mother's name in a system that does not care about Thanksgiving dinners or 37 years of hosting. Path 2, civil lawsuit, sue for damages, credit repair costs, attorney fees, emotional distress, slower, more expensive, but private. Path 3, demand letter. Sliva Jenha, in May, put the number on paper, set a deadline, give her the chance to settle before either of the first 2 paths became necessary. Which do you recommend? I asked. Depends on what you want. Justice or resolution? What is the difference? Justice involves a courtroom. Resolution involves a check. Start with the letter. Carmen made a note. Then she asked a question that opened a door I had not expected. Your father. Where does he fall in this? My father falls nowhere. My father is a man who reads the newspaper and says safe travels when you leave. Does he have access to your personal information? Social security number, date of birth, mother's maiden name? He has lived with my mother for 40 years. He has access to everything she has access to. Then I need to ask, is there any chance he knew about these accounts? The question was clinical. Carmen did not mean it as an accusation. She meant it as a variable in an equation, the kind of thing you account for before the other side's attorney finds it first. I do not know, I said, which was true. Roger Briggs is the kind of man whose knowledge is impossible to verify because he never volunteers any of it. He could have known about the cards the way he knows about the weather. Observed, noted, filed away, never acted upon. If he knew and did nothing to stop it, Carmen said, he may be considered an accessory, not criminally, in most cases. But in a civil action, his knowledge becomes relevant. If we send a demand letter, the other side may try to shift blame. We need to know where your father stands before they tell us. That was the first time the word we appeared in the conversation. Carmen was in. The case had shape. Step 3, evidence. Carmen needed documentation beyond the credit report. While she filed disputes with the credit bureaus, a 30-day process at minimum, my job was to build the paper trail. Transaction by transaction, row by row, and buried in 18 months of records. The story was this. Card 1 paid for Hazel's apartment security deposit. Card 2 paid for her car insurance, her dentist, her phone bill, and a recurring meal kit subscription Hazel probably thought was a gift. Card 3 paid for the furniture that filled my house 9 days before the Sato Patels arrived with their keys. Every dollar went to Hazel. Every dollar came from me, and the woman in the middle, the woman who directed every transaction like a traffic controller on an invisible highway, was my mother. Not a single purchase was frivolous. No vacations, no handbags, no spa days. Every charge was for something Hazel needed, or something my mother decided Hazel needed, which in Judith Briggs's accounting system amounts to the same thing. That is what made it hard to look at for too long. The theft was not selfish. It was maternal. It was performed with the same steady conviction that powered 37 Thanksgiving dinners and 40 years of marriage and a lifetime of believing that love is best expressed through management. Carmen called back that evening. One more thing. When you are building the file, look for any communication from your father. Emails, texts, anything. If he wrote something, even once, that suggests he knew, we need it before the other side finds it. That night, lying in bed in Bermondsey, watching the ceiling and listening to the radiator clear its throat, a thought arrived. Not a new one, an old one, wearing new clothes. My father sent me a birthday card every year. Same 3 words. Love, comma, Dad. But 2 years ago, around the time the second card was opened, there had been something else. An email. Short. Unusual. Something about a question he wanted to ask my mother, but was afraid to say out loud. The specifics were foggy, filed away in the same mental cabinet where all of Roger's communications live, somewhere between forgettable and barely worth remembering. The email was still in my inbox, somewhere, buried under 2 years of newsletters and meeting confirmations and shipping notifications. Finding it would take time, but time, for the first time in 8 months, was something that felt like it was finally moving in my direction. Carmen sent the draft demand letter on a Monday. 14 pages. Clean language, clean math, clean consequences. Reading it felt like holding a loaded weapon that someone else had assembled to exact specifications. All the moving parts in place, safety off, waiting. But before sending it, there was one thing left to resolve. 11 words from the group chat that had been sitting in my chest like a splinter too deep to reach. Sloane told me I could stay. Mom showed me the text. A private message to Hazel. Not in the group chat. Just the 2 of us, for the first time in 8 months, in a thread that contained nothing except the last thing she had sent me before the silence. A photo of a sunset from her old apartment balcony, dated March, with the caption, "Wish you could see this." No reply from me. 8 months of empty space below it. The new message was short. "Hazel, I never sent you any text saying you could move in. Can you show me what Mom gave you?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then a screenshot. It was a text message. From a number Hazel would have recognized as mine, because it was mine. My old Virginia number. The one attached to a phone that stopped traveling with me when the London SIM took over. The message read, "Hey Hayes, Mom mentioned you need a place. Use the house while I am overseas. Key is under the ceramic frog on the porch. Stay as long as you need. Love you." The ceramic frog was real. The key was real. The porch was real. The message was not. That phone, the one with the Virginia number, was sitting in a drawer in my mother's guest bedroom. Left behind after Thanksgiving. Forgotten the way you forget things in houses you do not plan to return to. My mother had kept it. Charged it. Used it. The realization arrived in layers. First, the mechanical layer, how she did it. Then the strategic layer, why she worded it that way, casual and warm, the way sisters text when they are not fighting. Then the deepest layer, the one that made the room go very quiet. My mother had studied how Sloane sounds when Sloane is being kind, and she had reproduced it. She had written a version of me that was generous and easy and available. A version that does not exist and never has, because the real version left and did not explain why. My mother had not just stolen my identity on a credit application. She had stolen my voice. The group chat was about to change shape again. From London, composing carefully. 2 images. The first, Hazel's screenshot of the fake text. The second, my phone records from the carrier, showing 0 outgoing messages to Hazel's number in the past 8 months. 0 calls, 0 texts. A clean, empty column of nothing where a sister's voice should have been. Below the images, 1 line. I did not send this message. My old phone has been in Mom's guest room since last November. Send. The reaction was not immediate this time. It was slower. Heavier. The kind of silence that happens when 47 people are not just surprised, but recalculating their understanding of a person they thought they knew. Aunt Helen was first. "Judith, tell me this is not true." Cousin Devon, who had sent the house on fire gift 3 days earlier, sent nothing. Angela sent no question marks. Uncle Phil, consistent as gravity, contributed his single observation. I said at Christmas that something was off about the whole arrangement. I said it to Roger directly. He nodded and changed the subject. Nobody listens to Phil. 47 minutes of silence from my mother. 47 minutes, during which the typing indicator appeared and disappeared 9 times, which meant she was composing and deleting, trying to find the version of the truth that made her the least wrong. When it finally arrived, it was 5 sentences long, the most Judith Briggs had ever written in a text message. I did what I had to do. Hazel had nowhere to go. Sloane abandoned this family. Someone had to step in. I am not going to apologize for being a mother. 5 sentences. No acknowledgement of the fake text. No acknowledgement of the credit cards. No acknowledgement that the daughter she accused of abandoning the family had been funding it from 5,000 miles away through accounts she did not know existed. Just a recasting. A reframing. The Judith Briggs specialty. Take the accusation, flip it, and hand it back as evidence of your own virtue. Helen's reply came 90 seconds later. We need to talk. Not in this chat. Call me. That reply mattered more than it seemed. But the reason why would not become clear until later. The false victory lasted exactly 2 hours. The demand letter was drafted. The fake text was exposed. The group chat had turned. Everything pointed in one direction. Clean, logical, controlled. The kind of resolution that appeals to the part of me that solves problems for a living. Then Hazel called. Not a text. A call. Voice raw, the way voices get when someone has been crying in a parked car for a long time, and has run out of tissues and started using the sleeve of a sweatshirt that smells like someone else's laundry detergent because it came from a terra cessida, friend's apartment where nothing belongs to you. You could have told me. Hazel. 8 months. You could have told me any day in 8 months. You could have said, Hazel, something is wrong. Do not trust what Mom says. You could have sent one text, one, and instead you sent nothing, and I moved my whole life into a house that was not even yours anymore, and I stood there in my pajamas telling strangers they had the wrong address. There was nothing to say to that. Not because she was wrong, because she was right. Every word. The kind of right that does not feel like winning, the kind that feels like standing in an empty room, realizing you are the one who emptied it. What am I supposed to do now? She said. Not a question. A sound. The sound of a 27-year-old woman who has been moved around like furniture by the 2 people she trusted most, and has just discovered that neither of them told her the truth. Give me a few days, was all that came out. A weak thing to say. The kind of thing a data analyst says when the numbers are bad and the client is crying and there is no formula for the distance between what should have happened and what did. Hazel hung up. The flat was quiet. London was dark. The demand letter sat on the screen, 14 pages of clean language and clean math, and none of it accounted for the cost of what my silence had done to my sister. The credit cards were my mother's crime. But the silence was mine. My mother did not go quietly. She went loudly, strategically, and on multiple fronts, because if there is one thing my mother understands better than guilt, it is narrative. Within 48 hours of the screenshot, she had called every sibling she had, both of my father's brothers, 3 women from her Bible study group, and the woman who does her hair on the 2nd Tuesday of every month, and the story she told was not the story that happened. It was a different story, one in which her eldest daughter had abandoned the family, moved to a foreign country, sold the family home out of spite, and was now threatening legal action against her own mother for the crime of helping her youngest child survive. The Facebook posts started the same week. Not direct. Never direct. My mother does not name names on social media. She posts inspirational quotes about the strength of mothers and the heartbreak of ungrateful children. She shares articles about family loyalty with captions like, "Some people forget where they came from." She lets the comment section do the rest. 3 cousins stopped replying to my messages. 1 aunt unfriended me. Uncle Phil, bless his consistency, sent me a private message that said, "Your mother called." I listened for 40 minutes. She did not mention the credit cards once. Draw your own conclusions. The counterattack was effective. It was also irrelevant, because Carmen had already sent the demand letter, $55,200. That was the number on the first page. 38,202 in fraudulent charges, 9,800 in projected credit repair costs, 7,200 in attorney fees, 30-day deadline, 2 options: pay in full, or face a civil lawsuit with the possibility of criminal referral to the Roanoke County Commonwealth's attorney. Carmen called the afternoon it was delivered. Certified mail. Signature required. My mother had signed for it at 1:47 in the afternoon, which meant she had read it while my father was still at his Tuesday lunch at the diner on Campbell Avenue, the one he goes to every week, because routine is the only language Roger Briggs speaks fluently. "She will call you," Carmen said. "Do not answer. Let her call me." She did not call me. She called Gillian. This is the part that still makes me close my eyes and exhale through my nose, which is the closest thing to a laugh my body produces when something is simultaneously absurd and exactly what I should have predicted. My mother called my real estate agent and demanded that the sale of the house be reversed. Gillian told me later, with the calm precision of a woman who has spent 20 years mediating between sellers who cry and buyers who threaten, exactly what was said. She told me, and again this is a direct quote, that she demands the sale be cancelled because her daughter was not of sound mind when she signed the papers. "What did you say?" I said, "Mrs. Briggs, the house has been sold, closed, and recorded with the county. The new owners are currently deciding between oak and walnut for the kitchen island. If you would like, I can provide you with the name of their contractor." And she hung up on me. Which, honestly, is the most reasonable thing she has done all week. The humor helped. Briefly, we have a problem. Or rather, we have a question that needs answering before it becomes a problem. Roger. The demand letter names your mother as the sole actor. But if opposing counsel responds, and they will, the first thing they will do is try to distribute liability. Your mother will say your father knew. Your father will say he did not. We need to establish the truth before they establish a version of it. The email. The one from 2 years ago. The one that had been sitting in my inbox like a seed buried so deep it took a legal dispute to bring it to the surface. Finding it took 20 minutes of scrolling. It was dated March of the year the second card was opened. Subject line: empty. Body: 4 sentences. The most Roger Briggs had ever written to me electronically. Sloan: your mother asked me to co-sign something for Hazel. I did not do it, but I want to ask you. Is she allowed to use your information for these things? Are you sure this is legal? Love, Dad. 6 sentences, actually. Not 4. The last 2 were questions he already knew the answer to, but needed someone else to confirm. Because Roger Briggs does not make accusations. He asks questions and waits for the world to tell him what he already suspects. He had known. Not the full scope. Not 3 cards and $38,000, but the principle, the fact, the direction. He had known that something was happening and that something was wrong, and he had done what he always does. He asked a quiet question, received no answer, and returned to his newspaper. Carmen reviewed the email. This is enough. Not for criminal liability, but for the civil case. This establishes knowledge. If your mother's attorney tries to argue that she acted alone without anyone's awareness, this email proves otherwise. What do you need from him? An affidavit. Signed, notarized. Confirming that Judith Briggs was the sole person who opened and managed the fraudulent accounts. That he did not participate but was aware that your personal information was being used. He will not do that voluntarily. Then you need to explain the alternative. If he does not sign, he may be named in the lawsuit. Not as the primary actor, but as a party with knowledge who failed to act. His choice is cooperation or exposure. That phone call was the hardest one. Not because of what needed to be said, because of what had never been said before it. My father answered on the fourth ring. The sound of a television in the background, a recliner creaking. The specific quiet of a man who has been expecting this call the way you expect weather. "Hi, Dad." Sloan. A pause. The kind that has furniture in it. Old furniture. Heavy furniture that nobody moves because moving it would mean admitting it was in the wrong place all along. There is a legal situation. You know what it is. Your mother handles these things. Not this time. This time a lawyer is handling it, and the lawyer needs something from you. Another pause. Longer. The television volume went down. First time in 30 years, Roger Briggs had manually lowered the volume during a conversation with his daughter. What does she need? A signed affidavit confirming Mom opened the accounts. That you were aware, that you did not participate. And if I do not sign, then your name goes into the lawsuit, not as the one who did it, as the one who watched. The longest silence. 12 seconds. Counted them the way you count when you are waiting for a number to appear on a screen that will change the shape of the next year of your life. When do you need it? Carmen will send the document tomorrow. All right. He did not say goodbye. He did not say he was sorry. He said all right, the same way he said safe travels, the same way he said love, Dad, on every birthday card for 25 years. 2 words. The minimum. Always the minimum. After the call, the flat felt different. Not quiet. Empty. There was a difference, and sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the demand letter on the screen, the difference became a question. 14 pages of clean language, screenshots, phone records, an affidavit, a credit report, transaction histories, every piece of evidence organized, verified, time-stamped. A case built the way cases are built. By systems. By data. By the kind of person who solves problems the way she was taught to solve them, from a distance, with documentation, without ever saying the sentence that sits underneath all of it like a foundation nobody checks, because the building above it looks so solid. Mom, you hurt me. 3 words. Shorter than love, Dad. And in 37 years, through every Thanksgiving and birthday card and group chat and demand letter, not once had any Briggs in this family said them out loud. The bathroom floor in Bermondsey is cold tile. White. Small chips along the edges where the grout has cracked. At 2 in the morning, with the overhead light off and only the hallway glow reaching under the door, the tile looks gray. Everything in London looks gray when you are sitting on a floor you did not plan to sit on, doing something you did not plan to do. Crying is not something that happens to me often. The last time was 3 years ago, in a hotel room in Edinburgh, after a call with Hazel where she asked to borrow $500. Not because the money was hard. Because the way she asked, carefully, like asking her sister for help, was a fragile thing that might shatter if she held it wrong. Now, sitting on the bathroom floor, with my back against the tub, the crying came without warning and without a specific target. Not for the credit cards, not for Hazel's voice on the phone 2 days ago, for me. For the particular kind of person who moves to another country and calls it freedom. Who builds a legal case with 14 pages of documentation and 0 pages of honesty. Who has not said the words, "Mom, you hurt me in 37 years, not because the words are hard to form, but because forming them would require admitting that Judith Briggs has power. Real power. The kind that lives in the body, not the bank account. The mirror was above the sink. Not a large one. The kind that comes with the flat, bolted to the wall, slightly tilted so that if you are sitting on the floor, you can see only the top of your own head. But standing up, leaning forward, pressing both palms flat on the cold porcelain, looking straight ahead. There she was. Not me. Her. My mother's face in my face, the jaw, The way the eyes narrow when the brain is working faster than the mouth. The set of the shoulders when something hurts, and the decision has been made to not show it. 20 years of telling myself that distance solved the problem, and the mirror said otherwise. The problem was not geography. The problem was inheritance. Not the house, the pattern. My mother gives money instead of love and calls it sacrifice. Sloane Briggs gives silence instead of truth and calls it boundaries. Same avoidance, different currency, same result. Two women standing in separate houses, miles apart, both convinced they are protecting something, both destroying the thing they are trying to keep. The radiator coughed. The river moved. London did not care. The phone rang at 6:14 in the morning. An American number. Not my mother. Not my father. Not Carmen. Helen. Aunt Helen is 67 years old, retired school principal, lives in Charlottesville, and speaks in complete paragraphs the way people speak who have spent decades addressing auditoriums full of teenagers. She does not call without reason. She does not call early without urgency. Sloane, are you awake? Yes. Good. Because what I am about to tell you is something I should have told you 20 years ago, and the fact that I did not is something I will have to live with for the rest of whatever time I have left. A sentence like that does not require a response. It requires a chair. There was no chair in the bathroom, so the edge of the tub served. Your mother opened a credit card in my name in 2009, 15 years ago. Used it for 11 months before I found the statement in a stack of mail she was holding for me while I recovered from hip surgery. Balance was just over $6,000. Helen paused. The breath of a woman setting down a sentence she has carried for 15 years. When I confronted her, she cried. Promised it would never happen again. Paid it back over 14 months. Every cent. And I chose to say nothing. Because she is my sister. Because family. Because all the reasons people choose silence over truth and then spend the next decade pretending the silence was mercy instead of cowardice. The tile was still cold. The light under the door was still gray. But the room had changed. Not physically, structurally. The way a room changes when you learn that the foundation beneath it is not what you thought. You are telling me this happened before. Sloane, I am telling you this is a pattern. Not a mistake. Not a moment of desperation. A pattern. She did it to me. She has now done it to you. The only difference is the scale and the fact that you, unlike me, are doing something about it. Why did you not tell me? Helen was quiet for 5 seconds. Long enough to hear a clock ticking in Charlottesville. Or maybe that was London. Or maybe it was the sound time makes when it passes through a conversation that should have happened 15 years earlier. Because I convinced myself it was isolated. Because your mother paid me back. Because I did not want to be the person who broke the family open. And because, Sloane, I was afraid. Afraid that if I told, nobody would believe me. Your mother is very good at being believed. There it was. The thing that made everything click into place like tumblers in a lock that has been stuck for years. Not the credit cards, not the fake text, not the group chat or the demand letter or Roger's email or the walkthrough or any of the individual pieces that had been accumulating like evidence in a case file, the thing underneath all of it. My mother did not target me because I was strong. She targeted me because she had already targeted Helen and gotten away with it. She did not escalate because she was desperate. She escalated because the first time worked, and nobody said anything. Not Helen. Not Roger. Not the neighbors or the Bible study group or the woman who does her hair on the second Tuesday of every month. Nobody said anything because Judith Briggs is the kind of woman who makes saying something feel like an act of cruelty rather than an act of honesty. The ghost shifted. The old memory, the 12-year-old behind the screen door, the mother who said she does not need me. That sentence had lived in my body for 25 years as evidence that I was unwanted. Now it wore different clothes. My mother did not say Sloane does not need me because it was true. She said it because it was useful. Because a daughter who does not need you is a daughter who does not ask questions. A daughter who does not ask questions is a daughter whose name you can use. Helen was still on the line. What are you going to do? What I should have done 8 months ago. Not the demand letter. Not the affidavit. Not another screenshot or phone record or legal document. The call to Hazel. No agenda, no evidence, no strategy, just a voice, 5,000 miles away, saying the thing that should have been said before any of the rest of it. Hazel. I should have told you 8 months ago. Something was wrong and I knew it was wrong, and instead of telling you, I left. I was scared and I hid, and you paid for it. I am sorry. The line was quiet. Not empty. Full. The kind of quiet that holds breath and weight, and the specific tension of a person deciding whether to accept or reject something that has just been offered. I am angry at you too, you know. You should be. You left me with her. You knew something was wrong, and you left me standing there with a spatula and strangers at the door. Yes, that is a terrible thing to do to a sister. Yes, another pause. Then, quieter. Are you okay? Nobody had asked that. Not Carmen, not Gillian, not Helen, not Roger. Nobody in 4 weeks of legal strategy and group chat warfare and demand letters and affidavits had asked the woman at the center of all of it whether she was okay. No, Sloane Briggs said, for the first time in 37 years, to the one person in her family who might actually hear it. No, I am not okay. And Hazel, sitting in a borrowed room in Vinton, Virginia, wearing borrowed pajamas and drinking from a borrowed mug, said the thing that mattered more than any legal document. Okay. Then let us start there. The 30 days passed. My mother did not pay. Carmen was not surprised. Most people in her position believe the letter is a bluff. They believe that family will not sue family. That belief typically lasts until the filing. The civil lawsuit was filed on a Wednesday morning in Roanoke County Circuit Court. Public record, searchable. The kind of document that lives in a database forever, indifferent to context or regret. Carrying only the facts. Plaintiff, defendant, cause of action, amount sought. Within a week, 3 things happened in the order Carmen predicted. First, the credit bureaus completed their investigation and confirmed the fraud. All 3 accounts were flagged. My credit report was cleaned, my mother's was not. Her score, which she had maintained for decades with the same meticulous attention she gave to Thanksgiving table settings and church attendance, dropped 174 points in a single cycle, enough to disqualify her from refinancing, enough to trigger a review on her own car loan. Second, the lawsuit became visible. Not in a newspaper. Nobody reads newspapers anymore. But the filing was indexed online, and someone from my mother's Bible study group found it the way people find things now, by searching a name they are curious about at 11 o'clock at night. By Thursday, the prayer chain had become a phone chain, and the phone chain had become the kind of quiet, communal knowledge that Judith Briggs has spent her entire life preventing. Everyone knew, nobody said it to her face. That is worse. Third, Helen called Judith. Not to comfort, not to lecture, to say one sentence that, according to Helen, lasted 3 seconds and produced a silence that lasted a full minute. It happened to me too, Judith, 15 years ago, and now they all know. My mother's attorney contacted Carmen 11 days after the filing. Settlement discussions began. The math was simple: $38,202 in principal, $9,800 in credit repair, $7,200 in legal fees. Total, $55,200, payable within 90 days. My mother did not have $55,000 in liquid assets. She had a house, the ranch on Ferncliff Drive, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, a kitchen where 37 Thanksgivings had been cooked and served and cleaned up and never once acknowledged by the people who ate them. Assessed value, $182,000. Mortgage remaining, $61,000. Enough equity to settle and keep a small amount. Enough to downsize. Not enough to stay. The house went on the market in June. Judith Briggs, who had moved her daughter into someone else's home without permission, was now selling her own to pay for it. The irony was not poetic, it was arithmetic. Roger signed the affidavit on the same day the listing went live. Then he packed a suitcase, drove to his brother's house in Lynchburg, and did not come back. The separation was not dramatic, it was logistical. The way everything in Roger's life is logistical. He called it temporary. His brother called it overdue. Judith called it betrayal, which was the only word in her vocabulary large enough to hold the feeling of watching a man she had managed for 40 years walk out of a door she could not lock behind him. 3 days after Roger left, he sent me an email, the longest piece of writing Roger Briggs has ever produced. Longer than every birthday card combined, longer than the affidavit, longer, probably, than anything he had written since a term paper in 1981 on the postal routes of rural Virginia. Sloan, I should have said something years ago. I should have said a lot of things. I do not know how to start, but I want to try if you will let me. Your mother is not a bad person. She is a scared person who has done bad things and does not know how to stop. That is not an excuse. It is just what I see from where I have been sitting for 40 years. I am sorry I sat there so long. Love, Dad. Still signed the same way. Still 3 words at the end. But the 87 words before them were new. And new, from Roger, was everything. Hazel found a room in Roanoke with a college friend named Britt, who had a spare bedroom and a cat named Structurally Sound, because Britt is an architect and apparently names pets the way she names load-bearing walls. Hazel started freelancing again. Small jobs. Logos for local businesses. A menu redesign for a coffee shop on Campbell Avenue. Nothing large. Everything hers. We had a video call on a Sunday. The first one, with cameras on. Hazel's borrowed room was small, bright, cluttered with pencils and fabric swatches and a plant she was clearly overwatering. Behind her, taped to the wall, was a new drawing. Abstract. Warm colors. The kind of thing Hazel makes when she is processing something she cannot name yet. "Are you ever coming back?" she asked. "I do not know." That is an honest answer. It is the only kind I have left. A pause. Not the kind from the group chat, loaded and sharp. A breathing kind. The kind sisters share when they are learning how to be sisters again after a long time of being something else. "Will you answer when I call?" she said. "Yes, that is new." "Yes, it is." She almost smiled. Not quite. Close. The corner of her mouth did something that, on a video call with slightly pixelated resolution and questionable lighting, looked like the beginning of something that might eventually become trust. The call lasted 11 minutes. Short. Real. The kind of conversation where nothing important is said and everything important is understood. My mother moved out of the house on Ferncliff Drive on a Saturday in July, Helen told me. Not Judith. Judith has not spoken to me since the group chat. Not a call, not a text, not a birthday card. The silence from my mother is different from the silence from my father. Roger's silence was absence. Judith's is presence. The heavy, deliberate kind. The kind that wants to be noticed. Helen said Judith was alone in the kitchen the night before the movers came, packing the last of the dishes, moving slowly. Helen stopped by to check on her and found her standing at the sink, washing a single mug. The university mug. The one with the cracked handle and the faded logo that had been sitting on that counter since the year I graduated. The only thing of mine still in that house. Judith washed it slowly. Set it on the drying rack. Looked at it for a long time. Then wrapped it in newspaper and placed it in a box labeled Keep. Helen told me that part and then went quiet. Not because there was nothing else to say. Because some images do not need commentary. A mother alone in a kitchen she is about to lose, holding the last object that connects her to a daughter who is 5,000 miles away and not coming back. That image carries its own weight. It is October now. London is doing its gray thing. Almost On the refrigerator, held up by a magnet shaped like a London bus that Hazel sent in the mail with no note, is a drawing. Abstract. Warm colors. The kind of thing my sister makes when she is trying to say something she does not have words for yet. On the back, in pencil, in Hazel's handwriting, for your fridge. If you have a fridge, it is the first thing on a surface that was empty for 5 months. It is small and imperfect and slightly crooked because the magnet is too weak for the paper weight. It is not much, but it is the right beginning. If you have ever been the strong one in your family, the one who handles everything and asks for nothing, this story is asking you a hard question. Are your boundaries real, or are they just silence with a better name? Because there is a difference between protecting yourself and disappearing. Sloane walked away without a word, and in that silence, someone else paid the price. Have you ever gone quiet when you should have spoken up? Have you ever let distance do the work that honesty was supposed to do? The people who love you cannot respect a line they do not know exists. Say it out loud. Say it to their face. Not through a lawyer, not through a screenshot, not through 8 months of nothing. The strongest thing you will ever do is not walking away. It is standing still and telling the truth before it costs someone else more than it costs you.
Thank you for being part of Lyra Echo Stories. If this story stayed with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because every echo never truly fades.